Hello, this is Julie Godfrey from the Book and Toy Company. Today we're going to be working with Letterland and showing you how you can very easily help your children to learn their letters, which is one of the first steps that they need to know in order to be able to read, and along the way learn some new vocabulary in English. Letterland, for those who don't yet know, is a phonics program, which means it's basically a way of decoding the words that you read. And the trick with Letterland is that every letter of the alphabet is actually a character, a personality. It's almost like a new friend for your child. And the very first step is that children go through and they learn the names of these characters. So if we look here, we have Annie Apple and Bouncy Ben. On other pages here we have Eddie Elephant and Firefighter Fred. And you can see that the letter is there, but it's integrated into a specific character. And although you probably can't see it on the video, this here is actually textured. So as well as learning the name of the letter, learning the sound that this letter makes in words, they can also start to learn how to write it. And here actually you have a verse which helps them to get the strokes in the right order. And it helps develop that muscle memory that they need for being able to write correctly. So if we go back to the beginning, and we'll work with Annie Apple. So on each page, for A to Z, then you've got the letter of the alphabet, and you have a story about each one. So Annie Apple, for example, lives in an apple orchard, and she's a talking apple, which is really quite special because apples don't usually talk. She loves to swing in the trees like an acrobat and chat to her animal friends. And each page there'll be a picture behind the Letterlander, and in that picture you'll find a number of items that start, or images, pictures that start with the Letterlander sound. So Annie Apple says ah, and here you'll see there's an arrow, and there are apples, and there's an ant, and an antelope. Be careful, the alligator. So with the pictures and with the story, and then here you have some vocabulary, it's very easy to build up like some context around the Letterlander. And what you want is that children remember who that is, that they remember the name. Because once they can remember that Annie Apple, or her name for Annie Apple, then it's very easy for them to apply the sound trick, which is you start to say the Letterlander's name and then stop. So Annie Apple says in words. And it's actually very powerful, this trick, because it gives them a very pure sound. And for things, for example, in Spanish particularly, there's certain letters that can be quite confusing, and using the Letterland sound trick is very helpful. So here, for example, we have uppy umbrella. So it's a lot easier to get the for uppy umbrella and not confuse that with the u, which is what you'd hear in Spanish, like in bus. It's bus for uppy umbrella. And another one actually is with Eddie Elephant and Impy Ink, because a lot of times in Spanish for ippy ink you would say e, and that's not right. So here you have Impy Ink, and again by saying Impy Ink's name, then it's a lot easier to get the pure Impy Ink sound. So the way to work with this book basically is you go through the book and you talk about the characters and you read their story and you look at the picture and you talk about the things that start with that character's name. The fact that everything's in context makes it a lot easier for them to learn new vocabulary. And as we're saying, with the sound trick, it makes it so much easier for them to know what that Letterlander, what their sound is in words. So Harry Hatman says in words. And the other thing that's important that you find here is you learn certain characteristics which later on in Letterland become very useful when the phonetics and the English becomes a lot more difficult, because anyone who's had to learn English as a second language is going to know that it's just completely illogical, and it's something that, you know, us Brits I suppose don't really realise until we're teaching, and then we realise that yes, English is really very illogical, and Letterland provides a very structured way of putting sense into that complete randomness that is the English language. So you just go through. Here we have Jumping Jim, and you've got his j and his dot there. And so as the children go through, they really love to to trace these letters. And as I said before, that gives a very good muscle memory. So once you've been through the book several times, and children do like repetition, then they should at the end be able to recognise who each Letterlander is. They should be able to say their name, and then using the sound trick, they should be able to say their sound. So that is step 1.